I'm back, and I wanted to let you know that I'm on Gab. I'm at the tag Starscream. Let me see here. Jeez, where's my profile here? Starscream85. So it's at Starscream85. That's my new Gab profile, if anybody's on it. And I wanted to talk a little about FISA. Don't let anybody tell you that FISA reauthorization is only about foreign terrorists or foreign spies or foreign agents. Look, if you work in any sort of field where you're in contact with people from outside the United States, hypothetically, you could end up being dragged into one of these FISA investigations. That's similar to what happened here, and especially consider this, okay? They put this article about, it's called How a Trump Tweet Imperiled FISA Surveillance Legislation. And it had to do with the fact that he put out a tweet on January 11th that said, House votes on controversial FISA Act today. This is the act that may have been used with the help of the discredited and phony dossier to so badly survey and abuse the Trump campaign by the previous administration and others, question mark. So technically, you could even say that it was just a question. Why are you giving me shit? So later, he kind of backed off about it, but he shouldn't have backed off about it. And I'll explain to you why. There's a guy, he had business all over the world, and apparently now they're trying to use that in order to say, well, he's been compromised because of his ties to Russian organizations or whatever. They're holding a lot of debt over his head or some sort of other compromising information, but they can't prove any of it. So either one, they collected surveillance on some of these individuals, but couldn't find evidence of an actual crime. Okay, or they made it all up. And then you have people that I just saw a comment earlier, somebody saying, "Oh, well, a lot of the pieces of the dossier have been corroborated. How have they been corroborated? And what pieces? And why aren't they indicative of a crime? And how come no crime has been found?" This legislation was passed in, let me see here. It's the Federal Intelligence Surveillance Act, I believe it's called. Yeah. It was passed in 1978, okay, and we've had for so long, and yet they just keep like all these damn terrorist attacks keep happening somehow. It didn't prevent the embassy bombings of the 80s, or was it the Marine barracks bombing of 1983? I think it was. It didn't prevent any of those nasty attacks, such as the 1993 World Trade Center bombing or 9/11. It didn't prevent any of that. It didn't prevent San Bernardino, and it didn't prevent the Boston bombing. It doesn't prevent any of those things because it's a bunch of bullshit unless you have the will to actually tackle terrorism. And these organizations that go out there, I'm talking about intelligence organizations that try to say, well, we need more of these powers in order to know what the terrorists are planning. Well, a lot of what they're planning, they already talk about publicly, don't they? And why don't you just, lobby other countries to enforce their own laws? Because a lot of these people are already breaking laws in those countries. Just lobby those countries to enforce their own laws. Lobby countries such as France and the UK and Ireland and Norway, where some of these people live, to enforce their own laws. And instead, what do? They say, well, we need a law where we can have these agencies of faceless jagoffs behind computers can basically spy on people who are playing Doom or what's it called, Wolfenstein, the new one. They want to surveil people who are sitting behind their computer screen and say, this guy looks like somebody we should be looking at, we should be spying on. And Then you have issues where you get selective enforcement of laws. Just this week, we had the Twitter admit that we would turn over Donald Trump's tweets to the Justice Department. This is in direct contradiction to Apple's position. Granted, it's two different companies, but Apple's position regarding the San Bernardino shooters. So within a couple years, they changed from this idea that this would be a betrayal of the privacy of users, and it would set a bad precedence to saying let's just give them information. I mean, it's all in the pursuit of justice, right? No, it's not in the pursuit of justice. Okay, if it was in the pursuit of justice, it would be applied equally no matter who the uh, targeted individual or organization is. And the due process of law is being so undermined by FISA. Um, you've had this being attacked since long ago. It says in a 2006 opinion, Judge Richard Posner, I think he died recently, wrote that FISA retains value as a framework for monitoring the communications of known terrorists, but it is hopeless as a framework for detecting terrorists. FISA requires that surveillance be conducted pursuant to warrants based on probable cause to believe that the target of surveillance is a terrorist, when the desperate need is to find out who is a terrorist. So the contradiction is this, okay? Yes, you can obtain a warrant to know that somebody is a terrorist, but the real problem right now is finding out who the terrorist is. It's useless at the moment when you have in many cases security organizations like the FBI that have been emasculated. They're told not to be, quote, Islamophobic or whatever. That's a contradiction. What they want to do is say it's wrong to profile people because it's racist and discriminatory. So therefore, we are just going to violate the rights and freedoms of the entire country. I'm sorry, that's not the solution to the problem. The solution is to enforce better border security, to deport people who are already violating laws that we have on the books, and to promote a more free and open society where people are able to express what they want to express, so long as they're not threatening others or engaging in incitement to violence or blackmailing other people, things like that. There's the limits to free speech are where they harm other people financially or physically. They're so quick to forget that if they authorize FISA, basically who gets to be the main agent of FISA right now? It gets to be the Trump the Trump administration and its CIA and its FBI and whatever. What are they out of their fucking minds? They've spent the past year talking about how he's such a disgusting dictator and he doesn't know what he's doing and he's an idiot and whatever. But now they do want to keep this crazy overreaching power in the hands of the federal government executive branch, which is who? The same guy. It's the same thing that they do with guns. They say, this guy is going to violate the rights of citizens and make it he's a threat to their existence. Then they turn around and say, well, citizens are not competent enough to own their own firearms. We should confiscate people's weapons, even if they already can't buy automatic weapons. We're going to confiscate, their assault rifles or whatever you want to call them. Give me a break. They don't have actual policies on promoting, the security of communities, the safety of communities. Not even when it comes to petty crime, do they have any ideas? So they chase after, fantasies like hate speech and persecute people. There's a guy who he actually does watch my channel once in a while. who's been involved in white supremacist groups. But if you really know him or speak to him for 20 minutes, you realize that there's bigger enemies in the country than some guy who, to be honest with you, he's all about just provoking people and saying things that are uncomfortable. Those people are annoying, right? You don't need a FISA amendment to go after them. You don't need to spy on people and look after what they're doing just because they're saying things that are offensive or whatever, until they actually threaten people. Then you start to pursue them for things like that. That's not what FISA is for. Now, what some of them are saying, I think it's NBC News talking about it, is that FISA is only intended for foreign targets. So what? Eventually, yes, the FISA is meant for foreign nationals, but when they start contacting U.S. nationals, then U.S. nationals get dragged into it. Okay, U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, etc. And in their mind, this whole idea of a global community, you know that their conception of citizenship is so weak that there's no reason FISA would not be used against them. And with the Trump dossier, it's been proven that FISA has indeed been used to compromise the privacy of American citizens here. They've been spied on. They've been surveilled by the FBI. How did they start to close in on Michael Flynn for making phone calls talking about his new job with the Russian ambassador? Okay, his part of his new job was to talk to the Russian ambassador and discuss upcoming issues with U.S.-Russian relations. And what do? They pop him for talking to him. Thank you. That's the exact illustration of why FISA it really is not a solution to any problem that we actually have. It's actually only a means to, compromise the freedom of speech of people talking privately, or even to interfere with their job. In his case, Michael Flynn, he did make a couple mistakes in there, maybe some dumb mistakes. Ended up lying to the FBI. That's his problem, but he wouldn't have been in that mess if it were not for this ridiculous statute. So that's my take. Let me know what you think. I really am surprised that not more people are standing up and giving the proper support to Senator Paul and the members of the House that did oppose it. I don't know. I think it's going to pass the Senate. I would hope that Donald Trump would try to veto it or something. But if he doesn't, and then we start seeing issues of FISA abuse over the next few years, don't say I didn't warn you, because I'm here to tell you that the same law that was used to attack Trump associates can be used to attack Trump opponents. And I'm somebody, I hope he wouldn't do that. But people have been known to abuse things that were used against them before. So have a great night, and I'll talk to you later.